This time on Sin City Beat, we're looking into the future and reflecting back. We are asking the questions that Vegas sports fans will debate for years to come. And of course, my panel has all the answers. Let's do this thing. Sin City Beat starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here on Sin City Beat. I'm Mike Davis. Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the sports reporters leading the charge. Joining the action today, we have Ray Brewer, managing editor of the Las Vegas Sun. Our very own Vince Sapienza, sports reporter and anchor with Fox 5 Las Vegas. And you may know him as Magnum 702, Chris Chapman, reporter with Fox Sports Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us. I know I look like I'm going to be covering Quidditch today. That's what my producer, James Edward Barrickman IV, said, but we're going to be talking about the future and the past. So we gave our panel some homework for the show this week. Producer James and I asked each and every member of the panel to select their Mount Rushmore of Vegas sports figures. Ray, we're going to start with you. So, Ray, let's check who your Mount Rushmore of Vegas sports figures could be. And remember, this could be owners, it could be executives, it could be players. But Ray, tell us why you chose this for your Mount Rushmore.
So when you do this, I think you could get caught in the trap of current and modern. And obviously, Vegas is a sports town that's really evolved since 2017 with the evolution of pro sports. So when we do this in 25 years, it'll be different. But Coach Tark, the GOAT, no questions about it. 19 years at UNLV, 4 Final Fours, 1990 National Championship. Greatest night of my life as an 8th grader. Marc-Andre Fleury embraced us as an expansion franchise, solidified that we're a pro town, led us to the Stanley Cup in year 1, made us fall in love with hockey, and the Golden Knights are our favorite team. Mark Davis, of course, he brought his franchise to Las Vegas. He fronted a lot of the cost for Allegiant Stadium. Cool things happen at Allegiant Stadium. High school football state championship game, voting. Oh, and the NFL on Sunday. They control the air in America on Sundays. And Asia Wilson, maybe top 10 women's basketball player of all time. 2 back-to-back championships, MVPs, Olympic gold medals. It doesn't get any better than her. She might be in an elusive company, and I hope you guys have her on your list.
I know I do. But let's go to Magnum 702. Magnum, tell us who you got for your Mount Rushmore.
Well, I also have Jerry Tarkanian, and condolences to the Tarkanian family.
Yes.
The loss of Lois, so condolences to George and Danny and the rest of the family. But I was a kid growing up in New Jersey, and my parents would let me stay up late to watch UNLV basketball because it was appointment television. That was because of Jerry Tarkanian. I cried the night they lost to Duke, as I'm sure a lot of people 2,500 miles away from New Jersey did
Ray's
as well.
like,
Bro, I'm still crying. All right, go ahead.
And we will talk about the fact that it was probably rigged. But Greg Maddux, you look at the Cy Young Awards, Valley High School product, not just one of the best pitchers of his generation, one of the best pitchers of all time. The ability he had to just strike guys out and his knowledge of the game, simply incredible. Andre Agassi, 8 Grand Slam titles, won a career Grand Slam, Olympic gold medal, multiple time #1 player in the world, I think maybe after Pete Sampras. Arguably, there's some debate, but arguably the second greatest American men's tennis player ever. The last American man to win the French Open, which happened before I even moved to Vegas back in the 90s. And then Adam Scott. Maybe some debate about this one, but listen, you win a Masters, you get that green jacket. He was ranked #1 in the world. He's got a 2nd place finish in the British Open. Played at UNLV. To me, you get the green jacket. He was here for a year. What was LJ here for 2 years? So you get the green jacket. You win the Masters. You get to set the menu. You're elevated to GOAT status. Adam Scott has to be on there for me.
It's a good list right there. Andre Agassi, of course, really put a spotlight on Vegas' dad, Mike Agassi, working with him in the casinos and training him here in Vegas. So very interesting stuff there. Curious, though, before we go to Vince, why no executives? Why no Bill Foley, no Mark Davis? You went more with the athletes.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to put executives. And listen, certainly I think you could make a debate that the Golden Knights as an organization could be on here. But to me, it's more of an individual thing. I think accomplishments on the field, maybe, at least in my world, trump what the executives do.
Yeah.
Certainly, listen, Bill Foley, thank you very much for bringing the Golden Knights here. Huge part of my life. Vince as well, Ray. So for us.
No, I got you. I was just curious. I was just curious where your train of thought was. Okay, and now, Vince, let's see your Mount Rushmore of sports figures.
Yeah,
here.
so I'm going the polar opposite in terms of basically all execs. I think it's unanimous when it comes to Tark. I may not have been here or alive to fully enjoy the fruits of what that was here with UNLV and Las Vegas, but I can tell you the moment I stepped foot in Las Vegas, I got a full discourse on what that man, his family, and his legacy is to Las Vegas. So there's no question about it. He is number one. I got Dana White right there because in a town that is known as the fight capital of the world, where boxing has gone astray of sorts compared to what it was in decades past, Dana White has put fighting combat sports on the map in a myriad of ways. You may not agree with everything he does, says, what have you. The man is a marketing genius, and you talk about a promoter. He may be the best of all time. He calls Las Vegas home. He makes his charity, does all his things here. Home is here. They may be an international, worldwide brand, but Dana White, for me, is no question a Mount Rushmore guy. And Ray, you had Marc-Andre Fleury. If Marc-Andre Fleury wins the Stanley Cup with the Golden Knights, I am putting it right there with you. But the fact that the Golden Knights moved on from him, Bill Foley continued. And when you say, I'm going to win the Cup in 6, and you do it, Bill Foley gets put on the Mount Rushmore. And I would argue there's not a single season in any sport in the history of Las Vegas that will match or even come close to what year one of the Golden Knights did for this town, this city, and everything that went with it. With 1 October and the way that all happened, there's no comparison to the run and everything that happened. So Bill Foley bringing the NHL to Vegas, and then Mark Davis, for me, elevating that one step further, not only in bringing the Raiders here, and as you said, they take the air of the sports world, the National Football League. There's no bigger machine than the NFL. The Raiders, an iconic brand, an international brand. And you add to the fact that not only did he bring the Raiders here, but in the first 4 years, he brought in the NFL Draft and the Super Bowl, two of the biggest events the National Football League has to offer. Super Bowl will be a recurring theme here in Las Vegas. And oh, by the way, he brought a couple championships once he purchased Las Vegas Aces, bringing in Becky Hammond. So he is pulling all the right strings when it comes to Las Vegas sports and putting them on the map.
Yeah. Great list so far we got from everybody. Real quickly, I'll just throw my 2 cents in. I think, of course, unanimous, we have Jerry Tarkanian. Of course, he really is the GOAT when it comes to sports here in our city. Bill Foley, everything you kind of mentioned there, Vince, I agree with that sentiment. And I think the big thing is he paved the way and showed future franchises that this city is right. This city has the foundation to house franchises. So I don't think we would see what is coming up the pike without a guy like Bill Foley. And Mark Davis really set in motion so much of that stuff, of course, with the Raiders, the Aces, and all that good stuff. And then we see what that in turn means for the Super Bowl and all different types of things. And then I really did want to make sure, kind of like you, Chris, I wanted to make sure we had an athlete on there. And I was trying to think of which athlete should it be. I was kind of going back and forth with Agassi and A'ja Wilson, but I do think A'ja Wilson, what she represents, the nature of her play, how dominant she is, she's really going to go down potentially as a top 3 WNBA player of all time. So I think what she means for this city, for that franchise, and moving forward is paramount. So a lot of good stuff there. We'd love to know your thoughts at home on your Vegas sports figures of Mount Rushmore. So make sure you reach out to us on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network and all our socials regarding that. But coming up, we're going to be talking more stuff. Yes, Magnum 702, he's going to get ready and construct that monument for us regarding Mount Rushmore. But in the meantime, we're going to be getting ready to look into the future. Get your crystal balls ready.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Welcome back to Sin City Beat. Well, let's look 20 years into the future. Playing along with this exercise, which Vegas sports franchise will be the most popular and beloved 20 years into the future? So, for instance, if Vegas sports fans could pick a franchise to win a championship, which would they choose 20 years down the line? So let me start with you, Chris Chapman, Magnum 702. What do you think?
Well, based on what I see on social media, I can tell you it will not be the baseball team that's moving from Oakland.
Whoa.
20 years from now, I'm going to say it's going to be the Raiders. I know I do a lot with the Golden Knights, but you guys have kind of alluded to it. The NFL is king. And listen, at some point, Mark Davis and company are going to get it right. They're going to draft a quarterback. They're going to have a successful team. There's a couple of pieces on the roster now. I mean, I think everyone loves Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And at some point, like the NFL is so competitive that teams don't stink forever unless you're a Jets fan. Then
like
they
it.
stink forever.
Well, I think in turn, this question is really about, future generations, young people, families moving from California. As young people start to become sports fans and grow up, who are they going to want to see become those teams that are winning? So Ray, do you agree with that sentiment? Who do you feel, is it still going to be VGK in the eyes of most people? Where do you lie on this question?
So I have a hard time thinking in the next 20 years, which is the time frame that you gave us, that the Raiders are going to be able to get out of their own way. Because you've got to draft and develop a quarterback, and Max Crosby's not getting any younger.
Right.
Also, Patrick Mahomes is still 28 years old and darn good. And I could see him winning every AFC West title moving down.
Well, let's hope not.
And, Denver's looking not bad either.
Right.
Of course, that's short term. And it's just, to win in the NFL, yes, it's a league of parity. And yes, you see all these teams matriculated up. But in the last 20 years, how many playoff appearances do we have for the Raiders?
1, 2.
So, and then Raiders are such an awesome community partner. Just like the Golden Knights, they do so many great things. They're awesome over there. I've seen how they've impacted high school football. But let's be honest, a lot of their fan base is coming from California on game day. And I think us locals have a more appeal with the Golden Knights because they were Vegas born. They're our team. And also with UNLV. I mean, I'd give a left leg to watch UNLV basketball play on a Thursday in the NCAA tournament while every other person's alma mater is getting to play. And I think if they could go on a run, baby, you knew that I was going to talk Rebels. You got the highlights ready to go. I mean, come on.
I'm pretty sure Ray offered up
I mean, granted, any team who plays, they got Vegas on their chest. We're going to root for them. But I just think Golden Knights, because they're Vegas born, are king. And I think if you saw the people that are out at Allegiant for that Boise game, I think people want the Rebels to go on a run.
Okay, so UNLV, good answer there. Vince, I'm curious where you are with this.
I think it's Golden Knights. I mean, for all the reasons Ray mentioned, when you talk about Vegas born, there's only one that has that moniker and it actually sticks, and that's the Golden Knights. And there's one thing that Bill Foley once said to me when I said, there's this big boom of different sports coming in, and he always goes, but there's only one Vegas born. And there's something that when you talk about the next few generations, what are their parents and their great-grandparents going to say and talk about and remember? It's going to be this Golden Knights team. It's going to be year 1. It's going to be year 6, winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah. So that's what is going to be in the memory banks 20 years down the line, and how they started here, they were born here. And, obviously winning helps everything. So in 20 years, whoever's winning the most is obviously going to, have a conversation. But when you talk about a grassroots being woven into the fabric of this society from day one, it's got to be the VGK.
And I thought, we could go second-born NBA, as it comes down the line. But, for right now, that is the answer from the panel. Guys, coming up, we're staying on the topic of championships. Which Vegas sports franchise is most likely to win the next title for our city? The panel answers that question next. Greatness lives forever. That's why Vince Sapienza will never die. We all remember the historic run of the Las Vegas Aces as they won back-to-back WNBA titles in 2022 and 2023, and of course the Vegas Golden Knights won the Cup in the 2022-23 season. But which Vegas sports franchise is most likely to bring the next championship parade to our city? Vince, tell us, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to go Aces, just because they have the best player in the world, and you could argue, as we talked about on the Mount Rushmore, A'ja Wilson's probably going to go down as top 3, top 2, and she's not 2 or 3 in terms of greatest of all time. So when you have the player at its peak and you have an organization that is not going to spare expense, is not going to spare money or resources to throw it in, plus when you just look at the logistical part of it. 12 teams in the league, going to be 13 and 14 here in the next couple of years. The competition may not be as stout as, would you say, a VGK where it's just an endless gauntlet, or the NFL where it's a year-to-year type league. So give me the Aces in terms of, if I'm putting money down on the next likely to win it all.
Okay, Ray, I know you were saying, listen, I want you to go with your heart, Ray. I really do. Like, that's, you
Well, he
know,
just changed his opinion.
Don't change, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Tell us.
Ray, listen, if you're into numbers, which I guess we all are, right?
Yeah.
Analytics. The sports books have the Aces as the favorite to win the WNBA, or the second favorite to win the WNBA in 25. So this question might have a few months of wiggle room to make it. So that, and you're right, the Golden Knights do have a gauntlet, and the Rebels, as we saw in those highlights, we're lucky to beat Omaha. Play zero perimeter defense. And I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for Colorado State to lose to Fresno on Saturday, so maybe UNLV could get a crack at Boise to get in that playoff. But it's Aces or bust. I don't know if we're going to be Boston, where we have a parade every other year, or it's part of the regular Clark County planning. But I don't see the Golden Knights winning anytime soon, even though they're a good team, top of the Pacific Division. There's 5 or 6 teams that are better than them right now, and they haven't beaten anybody good this year.
All right, I thought you were going Gorman. That's
they don't have parades. You asked who's going to have a parade. Gorman's going to win the Natty next year.
They could have a parade.
Gorman football.
Chris, tell us what you think.
Well, there's a couple ways I approach this. Conference championship, Lady Rebels basketball team. They've won 3 straight. They will they will win. I think they're 4 straight. But in terms of who's going to get the next parade, I'm going to come out of left field with this one. I'm going to say the Las Vegas Lights. Lights FC.
See, there you go. They just made the playoffs for the first time.
Lost in the the semifinals of the USL. Joey Bats is not Brett
Jose
Westbrook.
Batista, yep.
He's committed to winning. He doesn't care. He's not making the organization a clown show. He wants to win. I know some people who used to play soccer with him in Tampa. He's a very super competitive guy. This is just the beginning for the Lights. They're going to be good for a while. Joey Bats is committed. I think, listen, if they win a title, we better give those guys a parade.
I don't want to take Mike's job here.
Yeah.
Would they even have a parade if the Lights
Listen,
won?
they have fans. I mean, you go out to
Where's
Cashman.
the parade going to be? Around the parking lot?
Down to Jerry's Nugget.
I'm just going to say, Ray, we take offense to this, as a lot of Lights games are here on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network.
I'm
marketing,
the one that
my
coaches
friend.
U9 girls soccer.
Proud partner here, Ray.
Proud partner, as
It's all
Vince
about the
just said.
marketing.
Listen, guys, stick around. All this craziness that's ensuing, we got more of that after these words. All right, welcome back to Sin City Beat. Mike Davis here. Now it's time for the panel to share their thoughts on the ultimate question. What was the best sports moment of 2024? Chris Chapman, Magnum 702. You're the guy on the panel today who's catching all the flack. From the Adam Scott to the Lights, Ray is already, getting fussy with you a little bit. So tell us, I mean, what was the ultimate sports moment? And take into consideration who is sitting next to you.
Well, honestly, it's the Aces winning the gold medal in women's basketball at the Olympics, because there were 4 members of the team on USA basketball. But it's A'ja Wilson winning her 3rd MVP. She's the best player in the world.
Ray's already making faces. Camera, get Ray's face already.
All of the focus was on 2 rookies. All of the focus was on 2 rookies. Meanwhile, A'ja, in the middle of the season, winning a gold medal, goes and wins another MVP.
You realize the Super Bowl is here, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Ray's
That's
jaw,
fine.
it was like Bugs Bunny.
That
it was like
too
Looney
long ago
Tunes.
from my memory.
He asked 2024.
It was February.
Is it February?
It was
He didn't
February.
ask.
2024 is technically. Ray, I agree with you. That was my selection, the Super Bowl. Tell us why you think Super Bowl.
Well, I think 2 things. It legitimized us as an NFL city, right? The NFL wanted nothing to do with Las Vegas. Tony Romo said he couldn't do a fantasy football conference here in 2015. 9 years later, we're hosting Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're beating the 49ers in overtime, an all-time classic Super Bowl game. It's here, brought in a ton of revenue for the city, free advertising as the game's on. It was just a great celebration of where we're at right now as Vegas and where we are going.
Yeah, I think it's a great representation of how much has changed when it comes to sports in Vegas and that relationship. Vince, you're the last guy to talk to here. We got 2 minutes.
The right answer is the Super Bowl. That's the correct answer in terms of the greatest sporting moment. But I'll give you a little different twist. I thought what they did at Sphere with UFC, Noche UFC, was the most incredible, visually pleasing thing I have ever seen at a sporting event. As great and pomp and circumstance is the Super Bowl and everything that leads up to it, in terms of one night, one event, one absolute showcase, what I saw and what was able to witness with 20 other thousand people was a cinematic, incredible movie wrapped around one of the biggest combat sporting events I've ever seen. Nobody's going to remember who did what in necessarily the fights, but just in terms of a sports event, this was one of one, $20+ million for a 4-hour event. It was absolutely incredible. A love letter to Mexico, as Dana White put it. And you talk about just elevating, sports in Las Vegas and sports and entertainment. For me, that did it.
All right, guys, that is a look reflecting back and looking into the future here on Sin City Beat, a special episode. I want to thank our great panel, Magnum 702, Chris Chapman, Ray Brewer, and Vince Sapienza. I'm Mike Davis. Make sure you reach out. Let us know what you think about all these questions. We always love to hear from you at Fox 5 Vegas and Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network.
Adam Scott.